What's going on, first grade? It's Mr. Hunter here. I have your math with you. You should be on pages 223 and 224. All you need is a pencil, a sheet of notebook paper, and you're going to write your name and the date at the top. And then before we start, we always start with an icebreaker. So I need you to stand up. I don't know where you're sitting or watching this, but I need you to stand up. And this is a fun game that you can play with your brother, your sister, younger or older. You can play with your parents. All right, here are the rules. You are going to hear me say a number, and you are going to stay standing if you hear a number that is greater than 10, if you hear a number that is an even number, okay? If you hear a number that's greater than 10 or a number that's even, all right? You will sit down if the number is odd or less than 10, all right? Everybody get that? So if the number is greater than 10 or it's even, you're going to stand up and keep standing. If the number is less than 10 or odd, you're going to sit down. So make sure you're somewhere where you can sit down and you can move around, spread your arms out so you don't knock anything over, you don't push anybody, because you're going to need to move around, all right? So I want you to listen to me. All right, your first number is 12. Okay, so far you're doing good. 11. 4. Okay, that was a good warm up. That's a good warm up. So I know some of you may be confused a little bit because I gave you two things to do. So since we're just playing, we're going to start with one. All right. So if you hear an odd number, sit down. If you hear an even number, stand up. All right. We'll start with those and then we'll add more layers. I know this is the first time I'm forgetting. You guys are so smart, but I'm thinking, oh, I can try this. But let's just start with the first one. All right. So if the number is odd, sit down. If the number is even, stand up. All right. 14. 7. 9. Oh, I think I got somebody. You moved. You moved. That's a 9. That's an odd number. Remember our odd numbers, right? Our odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Anything that ends in a 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 is an odd number. Anything that ends in a 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0, 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, that is an even. So even or odd. This is a fun game. I'm not going to take up all your time, but that's a fun game you could play. So remember, you stand up if it's even, you sit down if it's odd. If I go and say 23, that's a big number. But what is it ending? It ends in a 3. So that means it's an odd number. So you would what? Sit down. So you can play with the big numbers. You can play with the numbers that are less than 10. But it's a fun game you can try. It's called even or odd, stand or sit. Okay. So try that out. I think we're ready to dive in. So let's get ready. All right. I'm going to erase my board here on the bottom because today, if I want to do a quick overview of what we're working on, all right. We are working on least to greatest. We're working on months of the year that have 31 days. And then we're working on sums and differences, equivalent measures, which are things that are the same size. And then we're doing two-digit problems, which you guys are doing pretty well with. I also have some combinations to give you. So I'm going to do that for you pretty soon. All right. So let's look at it. Number 1 on page 223, it says write the numbers in order from least to greatest. What does that mean? Well, least means you're going to take the smallest number. So least is the smallest. So that's what we see when we see that word. So least, the smallest number. Everybody get that? Now, greatest. What does greatest mean? If least is the smallest, greatest is the biggest. All right. I see Jeremiah sitting there looking at me. He's like, I already know this, Mr. Hunter. Sam, too. He's like, where's the hard stuff? Eliana, Dylan, you guys are looking at me like you've done this before. Well, you have. But let's try this first one, okay? So actually, I want to do this on the board. This is an example before we dive in. You have the numbers 137. You have the number 57. You have number 135. Which one of these is the least number? So if you don't know, two of the numbers have 3 digits. They have a hundreds place, tens place, and a ones place. Hundreds place, tens place, and a ones place. This only has a tens place and a ones place. So is that bigger than those, or is it smaller? If you answered smaller, you're correct. So we're going to put 57. That's the smallest number. Now, what is the middle number? The next number that we put at the 57, because both of these are pretty similar, right? They both have a 1. They both have a 3. They both have a, wait, no, they don't. One has a 7, one has a 5. So if we're doing least to greatest, which one goes next? The 5 is smaller or the 7 is smaller? Because these numbers are the same, so we need to look at what number is different. The 5 is smaller than the 7, so that means we're going to put the 5 here. And then what's the biggest number? The one with the 7 at the end. So 137. So that's a good example of if you see a problem and you have two numbers that are the same, you just got to keep going until you see there's a difference. And then when you see the different number, then you're going to change it and put it in the order that is correct. Okay. So that's pretty much what we're doing with this first problem. And the second problem, it says, write the numbers in order from least to greatest. So we have 147, 126, and 138. Wow. So all of these numbers have three places. They have the tens, the hundreds, and the ones. So let's look. We have a 1 in front of all of them. All right, let's look at the next number. We have a 4 and a 2 and a 3. So a 4, 3, and a 2, or 4, 2, and a 3. So which is smallest out of that? The 2. So we have a 1 and a 2. So we should put that one first, right? Because the 2 is smaller than the 3 and the 4. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take that one and we're going to put that first. That goes in the least column because that is the least. And I forgot to tell you guys, but when you're doing least to greatest, you're always going to start at the left. All right. You're going to start at the left and read the number. So 147, 126, 138. So now we have 126 in the least column. So now what is next? We have the 1 and the 4 and the 1 and the 3. Which is more, the 4 or the 3? The 4 is more. So now we take that 3 and put that in the middle because that's in between. And then we're going to take the 1, the 4, and the 7 and put that at the greatest because that is the order. So really, like we did here, you just go number by number. 126 is the smallest, 138 is the middle, and 147 is the greatest, okay? Now, when we look at the next problem, let's look over. It says 132, 130, 131. I want you to use the same steps that we just did for problem number 1 there and actually do that for the least, the greatest, and the middle number. Now, how do you do that? Remember, go one by one. You go to the first one. They all have 1. Now go to the second one. They all have 3. So now what we have to do? We have to go to the last number and really decide what's the smallest, 2, 0, or 1. If you put 0, that's right. Then what's next, 2 or 1? 1. And then what do you put last, Dylan? 2. Everybody agree? Eliana, Sam, Jeremiah? All right, you guys are smart. That's great. Now let's go down to the second part. All right, number 2, it says circle the months that have 31 days. And then you're going to color the sailboat yellow. Now, we have to look at a calendar, at a map. What months have 31 days? You know, there's something that happened really special this year, which is called a leap year. Everybody say leap year. All right. If you don't know what a leap year is, I'm going to explain it to you. All right. Every 4 years, we have an extra day of the year because the sun, the earth rotates around the sun a little bit slower. And that's how we get an extra day. We get the days are longer in the summer. We get more sunshine in the morning and even at nighttime in the summer. And then we have an extra day. When we have that leap year, the extra day is in what month? I'll give you a hint. We had a few birthdays in that month. We had Mr. Hunter's birthday. We had Naomi's, Ada's, and Solomon's. February. February always gets an extra day. So usually February only has 28 days. But when we have a leap year, we get an extra day. So we do a +1 and we get 29 days. All right. So when we get to 29 day, the entire year has 365 days. But if we get an extra day, what does that take us to? It goes from 365 days to 366 days. So there's one extra year. And guess what? That happened this year, 2020. And since it happens every 4 years, it happened in 2020. Guess what? It's going to happen the next time in 2024. 2024. And then after that, we're going to add 4 more. It's going to happen again in 2028. So every 4 years, we get an extra day of the year to have more fun, to do more planning, to get more rest, to get more sleep. And now we're going to look at the map or look at the calendar and see which months have 31 days or more. Now, we have to circle them. So let's look at January. January has how many days? 31. So we circle that one, right? Okay, so we have to circle that. Now, February has 28 or 29 because remember, the leap year. What about March? Do you guys know that we just had March? March 31st was actually this week. It was on Tuesday. So we just had the 31st day. So that is something that you guys may know. It's already fresh. So we're going to circle that one. And then we're in April right now. How many days does April have? It was close. It's 30, but it wasn't 31. So we don't have to circle that. And then we go to May. Do we circle May? May. I like May a lot because my brother's birthday is in May. His May 22nd. So really cool. All right. Then we're going to June, another 30. And then let's keep going all the way to the other side, which we're in the summer months. July, August, September, October, November, December. You have to circle all the months that have 31 days. Now, here's what you have to do. You see at the bottom, it says 365 days equals 1 year. 366 days equals 1 leap year. So it just tells you. On number 3 and number 4, you have to use this calendar to tell us the answers. So number 3 says, how many months have 31 days? So what you have to do is go back up and look at which months that you circled and count them up. So if you count them up, that'll give you your answer that you're going to put in the box right there. Okay? And then on number 4, it says, how many months have only 28 days? Now you have to go back and actually look and count. And I look at the calendar and I'm looking, there's 1 month that doesn't have a 3 in front of it. What month is that? I want you guys to take a look. Even when we give it an extra day, it still doesn't have 30. It's the shortest month of the year. All right. You're going to put that answer in there. And then we're going to move on to the next page where I have your combinations and I'll tell you a little bit more. All right. Let's get ready. All right, guys. So now you're on page 224. You should be ready. You're ready for your combinations. I have them for you. All right. So what you're going to do is you're just going to write the answers to the combinations that your teacher says, and that is me. All right. So listen carefully. The first letter is A, and you're going to write 5 plus 4. I'm sorry. You're not going to write 5 plus 4. That's the combination. You write the answer. So your combination is 5 plus 4. All right. Your next combination is 9 minus 6. So the combination for letter C is 2 plus 5. The combination for letter D is 10 minus 5. The combination for letter E, 7 minus 3. The combination for letter F, 7 minus 4. All right, guys, so you should have all the combinations there. If you need to hear them again, you can just rewind the video and play it over, but you should be good there. And now we're going to move forward, okay? We're going to move on to number 2. It says write the answer in the oar. Does everybody know what an oar is? Well, if you're in a canoe or a small boat, or they have races, actually in Philadelphia, they have a big canoe race where they have a kayak, and people and teams and colleges from all over Pennsylvania and all over the world, actually, they go and they have these oars and they're paddles. And they swim, or they're in the boat and they're paddling in the boat, and the teams are paddling fast. And because you may not know about this, I'm going to send you a video of what they call it. It's really cool. It's on the river in the middle of Philadelphia. It's a really fun race, and a lot of teams, a lot of people from all over the world come. All over the world come. They have oars, and it's a really cool race. So I'm going to send you a video so you can see those guys. They have to work out a lot. They have really strong backs and arms because they're doing that paddling really fast for over 2 miles. That's a long way to do it. And you can start out fast, but it's not how you start. That's how you finish. All right, so I'll send that to you. But now what you're going to do is you have to know the calculations, the measurements. Remember, we're talking about measurements. So 1 foot equals how many inches? Well, if you take your ruler, it's 1 foot long. So why don't you take it and look at the inches side and see how many inches make 1 foot? And that'll give you your answer right there. All right, how many inches? When you see the small I and the small n, and there may be a C and an H, you're going to see that short for inch. You're going to see how many inches make 1 foot. All right. And now we're going to go down to pound. How many pounds, or I'm sorry, how many ounces are in 1 pound? And then you have a pint. Everybody say pint. Remember that? We have pints, we have quarts, and we have cups. So you have a pint. How many cups are in 1 pint? All right. We know this. It's sort of review. Again, if you have any questions, you know you can ask me, but just fill in the blank with some of the answers there. Now, when we're doing math and we're adding, the answer is called a sum. So we know this. So we have two digit addends. they can write the numbers. Remember, they're writing these problems vertical. We can also write them lateral. So what you have right here, and I'm going to erase this on the board. You have a problem of 32 plus 25. All right, so let's add that up. 32 plus 25. So what do we first do? We have to take the first column. We're going to count the ones column first. Remember that. You always count when you're adding or subtracting. You always count the ones column. This is the ones. Always count the ones column first. And then you count the tens. If there's hundreds, then you do that next. But always start with the ones. So we have a simple answer. We have 2 plus 5. So if you have 5 and you add 2 to that answer, what do you get? 7, right? 6, 7. So we're going to put the 7 down there. And then we have 3 plus 2. What is that? That's going to be 5. So now you have what? 57. The key that we're trying to get you to see here is that you always want to start with the ones place. Because if you were to start here, that could be wrong. You know why? What if you're doing a subtraction problem and you have to carry? Or what if you're doing a problem and the number over here is a big? Like say this. What if you have 49 plus 33? And what if I did this? I didn't start with the ones place, so I started with the tens place. So I said, oh, 4 plus 3 is 7. And then I went over to the 9 plus 3, and I'm like, oh, that's 12. Can I write that? That's wrong. I can't write that. That wouldn't be 12. So what do I have to do? I have to erase that, and I have to start over with the ones place. So that answer would give me 712, but that's a big number, and I don't think that's correct. So what we do is we add 3 plus 9. That's going to be 12. So we write the 2 there, but then we have to carry our 1. Remember, that's called regrouping. So we have to carry the 1, and then you have 1 plus 4 is 5. And then you have 5 plus 3, which is 8. And if you're counting in your head, it's okay. But make sure you're doing it correctly because you could have your number line, okay? So what you're going to do is you have 5 plus 3 is 8. So we have 82. And what was the number that I put before? The number that I put before was 712. That right there, that is a ridiculous number, and that was way too big, okay? So always start with the ones place before you move on. All right, you're going to do that for the entire problem. Now, number 4, I would ask you guys, what time is it? And you would say, I don't know, Mr. Hunter. Well, that's what this problem is asking you. It's asking you, what time is it? Your job is to tell the time for the clocks. So I'm going to erase the board, and I'm going to write some clocks on the board so we can actually do this together. All right, guys, so we should be ready for the clocks. I have my clock on the board. And wait here, we have a little hand and a big hand. Now, remember, the big hand points to the what? Points to the minutes. Everybody get that? Big hand points to the minutes. So if the big hand points to the minutes, the little hand points to the what? The hour. So where are we looking? What does the little hand look like it's on? It looks like it's in between the 1 and the 2, right? So remember, if the little hand is not on the number and it's in between, where do we go back to? I just gave you a keyword. You always go back. So if it's in the middle, you always go back to the number that was before. So it's in between 2 and 1. So we're going to go to the 1. So we already know it's 1 something, but we don't know what it is. So you have to write the 1. You put your 2 dots there, your semicolon, and then what does the 4 represent? Because the big hand's on the 4. And if you don't know, what can you do? Remember, the inside tells you the hour, but the outside, we're counting by 5s. So you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 20. Wait a minute. I don't have to go any further because look, the big hand is on the 4. And that means it's going to be on the 20. So what time is it? It's 1:20. So you're right. So we're going to put a 2 and a 0. Now later, we're going to get into PM and AM. So right now, for the sake of the day, when you're doing this, we're going to say AM, okay? So that just means it's AM in the morning. But you don't have to worry about that now. I'm just giving you something extra. But it's 1:20. So I want you to do that with your clocks. If you need to, the numbers on the inside are already written, which tell you the hour. But if you need to, go ahead and write the 5 and the 10 and count by 5s all the way around to the top when you get back to 12, and you'll have that there for your help, okay? So when you do the next problem, look at the little hand. Where's the little hand on? It's on the 4. So what do you do first? You put the 4 down there, and then you need to find out what the 3 represents. So the big hand's on the 3, which means it's the minutes. So you don't put 4, 3. What does the 3 equal? The 3 equals 15. All right, you guys are too smart. You can do the next one. And the last one, we're going to go to number 5. Man, Sam, you are all in this book. They must know it's your birthday. All right, so Sam had 1 gallon of sand in his bucket. How many quarts did he have? Ooh, so now they're asking us about measurements and 1 gallon. So they want to know how many quarts. Well, if we know they had 1 gallon, how many quarts are in a gallon? Somebody said, did you say 4? Who said 4? I want to raise your hand. Were you looking? You didn't look at anything? You guys just knew it was 4? Man, first grade is super smart. You know, you guys only have 2 months left of school, and then you're going to be in 2nd grade. So it's already showing you guys are getting this really easy. So what you're going to put in there are 4 quarts in a gallon. Everybody say there are 4 quarts. I'll put this. 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. All right, so 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. So that 4 goes there. Now we're going to go down and do another problem. We have Sam put 6 flags. And remember, I didn't tell you this in the first problem, but when you hear the number or you see the number, what do? Sam put 6 flags. Circle 6 or underline it so you know that's a number that's going to be important for you, okay? So you have 6. Now, he put 6 flags on his sand castle. Sue put 3 flags on hers. So what do we need to do? We need to circle or underline 3. Now, how many flags were there altogether? So we have 6 and we have 3. So what are we doing? They're asking us, do we have all together? So do we take away or do we add them? I think you guys are right. You add them together. So that's what you're going to do. It's going to give you your answers. Now, you need to make sure you put the numbers in the correct boxes, because if you don't, that can still be marked wrong, especially on the test, okay? So I want you guys to take your time, go through all the problems. If you have any questions, rewind the video, go back through it. I want you to practice that game. Stand up if the number is even, sit down if the number is odd. Practice your even and odd numbers. Practice some sums and differences of writing numbers that are vertical. And then get a lot of clockwork in. We didn't do any work today on thermometers, but I'd love to see you guys practice with that. Remember, if you're counting in the thermometer, you are counting by 2s. All right, I love you guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow.